And if you've been to a keto or conference of any kind, you'll see a lot of people who've been on keto or carnivore for several years who look heavy, who aren't losing fat, because there's a lack of understanding in how a high-fat diet blocks glucose from entering the mitochondria, and that diabetics are already burning fat. They're releasing fat, and they're creating glucose from gluconeogenesis, but they're not able to metabolize this fat. It's released from the cells, but it's not all making it to be turned into ATP. It's being restored.
Everything that you just explained, I 100% agree with. And at the end of the day, are you really going to go the rest of your life without eating carbs? No, you're not. But what ends up happening is because you are a carbophobe and you think carbs make you fat, and we have dozens of examples proving that carbs don't make you fat, especially if you're eating healthy carbs. But what's happening is the very thing that you're trying to prevent, which is insulin resistance, you're creating because you've eliminated glucose from your diet. And so you're desensitizing your cells and tissues like you just explained, so that now you go to bring glucose back into your plan and your body spills over, holds more water, because for every gram of carb you eat, your body holds 3 grams of water. Your cells and your tissues are resistant to it now because your body prefers and has to use the fatty acids first when they enter into your system. Now it's rejecting the glucose, and you're like, see, carbs are making me fat. So you're blaming carbs again, when it's really the low carb diet that actually caused your resistance to the glucose. And I mean, we could talk about dozens of examples across the globe. I know you always mention these indigenous tribes, right? We talk about Okinawas who eat 70% sweet potatoes and rice in their diet, and they have a less disease, they're thinner, and have a longer life expectancy than the rest of the world. Now we're slowly destroying that by building McDonald's around their neighborhoods. But the truth is, I mean, blue zones are up for debate whether that reporting is correct or not, but we can use dozens of examples across the globe. Catawba Islanders, same thing, right? You know,
yeah, Okinawa was one that was pretty solid. They were pretty solid as having more centenarians than anyone else. And it was like, it's a sweet potato. At some point, even 10-to-1 ratio of carbs to protein, depending on which study or which that you're looking at, that someone came in and like documented their diet. We're 70 to 80% carb for sure. It's easy. And there's other tribes that are like the same way but basically they have no metabolic disease. There's no metabolic disease in these indigenous cultures, and they're eating 60 to 85% of their calories from carbohydrates.
Exactly. And there's so many other examples as well. I mean, we could cherry pick that example, but we could talk about the diabetic study that they've done. They take 2 groups of dieters and they put one group, these were diabetics. So context, right? One group is on a high carb diet. One group is on a low carb diet. Calories and protein are created equal. Okay. So with that being said, same weight loss, same blood glucose, same blood pressure, same cholesterol levels. With a high carb diet versus a low carb, when calories and protein are equal. Chris Voigt, the head of the Washington State Potato Commission, protested and ate nothing but 20 potatoes a day for 60 days in a row because the government wanted to remove potatoes from the school lunch program, and he got pissed off. And so he protested. And if you look at his before and after chart, which I'll probably put up on a screen in a short clip on this interview, you'll be blown away. The guy lost 22 pounds eating nothing but potatoes, and all his blood markers on his blood test were incredible. And even his blood pressure was outstanding at the end. And this guy ate nothing but potatoes. Now, the keto and carnivore cult will come in. Well, he was in a deficit. Well, yeah, most diets, that's the way it works. You know, I mean, it's the law of thermodynamics, especially with men. If you're burning off more than you're consuming and protein is adequate, you're going to lose weight, and it's going to work until it doesn't. And so, I mean, if somebody comes to me and they're a carb addict and they've been on a super, super high carb diet, the first thing that I'm going to do is I am going to put them on what I call my 7-day diet. Okay. It's a carb deplete diet. It's not keto. It's not carnivore. We're going to put protein sky high. We're going to keep fats moderate, but we're going to put carbs in the basement for 7 days because we want to drain all the glycogen out on purpose. It's going to intentionally lower thyroid hormones a little bit and leptin levels a little bit, but we want to get the body more fat adapted. Now, after that 7 days, at the end of that 7th day, we're going to have a cheat meal or a high carb meal, because now we're going to reset leptin and thyroid hormones, and we're going to slowly bring carbs back in and teach them a lifestyle that they can adhere to ongoing, versus thinking, well, I'm going to go the rest of my life without eating carbs because carbs make me fat. Not only are you going to screw yourself up metabolically and hormonally and make yourself more insulin resistant, it's just not realistic for the long haul. So at the end of the day, it goes back to adherence and following something that you could adhere to. Now, I know, Lane, from your own experience, right? The fasting and, cutting the carbs screwed you up, and you found that bringing carbs back in. And the one last example that I'll bring up is bodybuilders. I mean, we can look at guys like Lee Haney, who eat 65% carbs, put fats in the basement, and protein was only moderate. It was only 30 to 35% of his diet. It was a mostly high carb diet. And this is one of the, yes, they have PEDs at play. Performance enhancing drugs are at play here, but it does prove the point that carbs don't necessarily make us fat. And in fact, when you bring carbs into your plan and you lower your fat, you can eat so much more food.
Yes.
Because, I see this all the time. Guys come to me and they're like, they can't lose weight. And I start looking at their food logs like, dude, why are you eating 4 avocados a day and 5 tablespoons of olive oil and snacking on nuts and seeds between every meal? That's like 1,000 calories extra a day. So I tell them just half avocado a day, cut out the nuts and seeds for a week, use spray in your pans and stop pouring the oil on your salad. A week later, they're down 5 pounds because it's a math equation. I mean, fats yield 9 calories per gram. Carbs and protein only yield 4 calories per gram. So when my wife and I put fats in the basement, when I started sugar fasting in my pre-photo shoot, this was the most fun I ever had getting ready for a photo shoot because I could eat so much more food. I was eating 750 to 800 grams of carbs every third day. And I got peeled for this photo shoot.
Wow.
Right. And my wife, because she was just following my plan, but she was getting adequate protein, not doing the extremes I was, but she was just eating the same foods I was. And we didn't realize how much the fats had snuck into our diet. And it's not because we're all about keto or carnivore. We're not.
No, it's just there.
It's just there because keto and carnivore have raised the awareness of the healthy fat. So now everybody's like, well, olive oil is healthy and avocados are healthy and nuts and seeds are healthy. Yeah, they're healthy, but it's still a math equation. I don't care how healthy they are. If you're eating too much of any food group and you're taking your body out of a deficit, unless we're on an intentional refeed or a diet break, right? Or a reverse diet because of somebody hormonally being in a deficit for extended periods of time, it is a math equation. So I think anybody listening to this, if you love your friendly fats, there's nothing wrong with that. But I would argue that if you just cut them in half, we talk in a week and you're stuck and you're not losing weight, you're probably going to see the scale start moving down because it is a math equation.
When it comes down to energy, carbohydrates are a more efficient form of energy as far as oxygen is concerned. And that's what we see with the athlete, like professional athletes, when they compare keto to high carb or a low carb to high carb diet, you see much more improved performance and outcomes and blood markers from the higher carb diet of the athletes. And these are even with keto adapted, like they've been keto for 25 years. We have studies showing, not 25 years, 25 months on keto, fully adapted, and they still don't have the performance there. Because per oxygen molecule, when you equate for calories, you got 100 calories of glucose, 100 calories of fat. Glucose is more efficient by I think it's like a 13% difference in oxygen. As far as per oxygen molecule, you're going to get more ATP, and you have less reactive oxygen species, so less inflammation from the glucose oxidation than you do from the fat oxidation. But I think what it really comes down is they're competing elements in your mitochondria, in each mitochondria. And so it's not that you have to completely eliminate one or the other, but I think most people would find if they want to lose weight, what I'm finding is when people want to lose fat, the more they lower fat and increase carbohydrates, the quicker their fat's going to fall off.